Hello, this is the Reading on the Rocks podcast. We are Kelsey,
Chandler,
and Morgan. We like to drink and read books and then talk about them. Welcome to the group chat.
hello. Welcome to another episode of Reading on the Rocks. I'm Morgan. That's Chandler. That's Kelsey. This couple episodes, we are reading Phantasma by Kaylie Smith. We read 1 through 28, so we'll be starting 29 this next round. But I am drinking a pretty stout what's that juice? Orange juice and pomegranate vodka. So what do you got, Chan?
Sounds delicious.
It's something, I'll tell you.
Apple cider with apple oak aged pomanu from a local
I don't know that
cider house here. I could spell it. I cannot say it.
Okay.
That's okay.
You don't need to spell it.
This is not spelling on the rocks. This is reading.
Reading on the rocks.
That's hilarious.
That's fun. In spirit of the cold weather. I like
yes.
it. Yeah. What do you got, Kels?
That sounds good. So I have a margarita that my mom left behind from the holidays. And it was a tiny amount of like a lime margarita. So I actually had strawberry margarita mix and I just added some more.
There you go.
So it's a strawberry lime-ish margarita.
Yum.
I'm here for it.
That sounds good. Yeah, I'm into it. Hey folks, let's get into her a little bit. This book's I kind of went into it not super hopeful, if I'm being square with you, because of the ghost and ghouls and haunted house aspect. I'm not like super into it, but it kind of like I'm into it. Like this is a good read. Not what I thought it would be.
I kind of had the same thoughts. I was like, I'm not going to love this as much as I loved the last book, Undertaking Heart and Mercy. I was like, I'm not going to love that much. But I'm super into it too.
I'm about the same. It took me a minute to get like into it, but once like the actual house trials kind of started, I was like, okay, I could be into this. But I could see, I'm also like such a mood reader that I'm like mooded out on like romantasy right now. So I feel like that's part of my problem too. Like I've just read too many recently and they kind of are all merging together in my mind. So I feel like I'm not liking it as much as I wanted to, but I'm definitely like, I want to read more.
I feel like that surprises me because I feel like you're such a big Supernatural fan.
I am. I am a giant Supernatural fan. I am a giant Supernatural fan.
So I was like, Kelsey's gonna love this. It's giving Supernatural vibes.
You know what this book doesn't have, which is the whole point of watching Supernatural? A Dean Winchester. He ain't here.
If they just put a Dean Winchester in it, then Kelsey's in.
Yes.
I feel like Jasper gives Dean Winchester vibes.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Dean Winchester is kind of a niche topic. He's pretty specific.
He's very specific.
I've not watched Supernatural like to a T. I've watched a little bit, but not like.
You need to watch more.
Well, we can have a Supernatural podcast if you want to.
I know. Just turn it right over. I will talk about
Dean Winchester.
Yes. I will talk about Dean Winchester, Jensen Ackles all day of my life.
I like
Top
Sam
tier.
too. He needs a shout out too. We like Sam.
Okay,
too.
fine, Sam.
Little retriever boy.
He is a retriever.
Sam.
I personally
This is exactly where my grumpy comes in, because I'm like, Sam, take him or leave him. Dean, hell yes.
Yeah.
Every day.
It's because he's ornery and he's just witty and
Yes.
I'm with you.
That's because you married a Dean Winchester, Kelsey.
Just a smidgen. Just a smidgen. Yes, a little bit. True story, like our very first date that we went on, Chris, my husband, was wearing a red and gray flannel shirt, just like Dean Winchester's, and I was like, oof, sold. So
Count me in.
Count me in.
Count me in for the rest of my life.
Yes. Check mark. Yep.
Jim reminded me of Seth Rogen when I first met him, which is not the best.
It was.
I mean, I like Seth Rogen as much as the next guy.
I feel like you met my entire family on the worst weekend possible. It was my college graduation, and it was a mess.
It was just a drinking fest, and then I just kept getting left. Like everyone would just go and do things.
I felt so
like, okay,
bad
I'll
because
nap in the hotel room. I guess
you were just like coming back to the hotel with us.
I remember this is we're such on a off-topic tangent, but I remember when they went golfing, Tim didn't even tell me what they were doing. He just left in a golf cart. I'm like, oh, okay. And then we went back to the hotel room, and your mom's like, do you want to come hang? Like, first time I've met any of you. Do you want to come hang out with the pool? And I'm like, no, I'm going to take a nap in the hotel room. I'm just so overstimulated.
Okay, I can't. I remember you and Tim were the first people. Okay, last thing. But you and Tim were the first people to leave. And I remember Chris looking at all of us and going, she's breaking up with him on the ride home.
It was the first trial.
I was like, I don't blame her.
Man. It was a wild ride.
But here we are.
Here we are, guys. Joke's on him. He was wrong.
Okay, we should probably talk about the book we read.
Let's get into it. So
enough about our family.
Yeah. A little bit of a, I guess, recap of the first 28 chapters. So we meet Ophelia, which is the main character, and her sister Genevieve. Their mom, like, it starts out with her mom dying, like, immediately. Basically, this means the powers that she possessed as a necromancer. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Were passed on to Ophelia. So Ophelia took over the necromancy powers, and then there was some stuff that Genevieve was keeping hidden from her, and there's this like demon devil house called Phantasma that pops up in different cities, and it's basically like a trial. People can enter, and if they go through the 9 trials, which represent the 9 levels of hell, then they get to basically ask a wish of the devil or the major devil in the house or something like that. So the first part, I think they got through the first 3 trials. So Genevieve went into this, or we assume Genevieve went into this, and Ophelia is basically like trying to find her. So she goes into Phantasma as well. And she goes through the first 3 trials, which were lust is one of them.
Limbo.
Greed is one of them. Limbo. Yeah. So we went through the first 3, and she meets the Phantom, whose name is Blackwell. And he basically struck a deal with her. For 10 years of her life, he will help her like go through these trials and find her sister. And then she needs to help him find basically the key to separate him from this house, because he's been stuck here forever. And he can't remember anything.
If she finds the key, she doesn't have to give him 10 years of her life.
Yes. So yes, that is how far we got in this read. So it's definitely super interesting. The trial, like, yeah, I got into it way more once the actual, like, house stuff was going on. But
I struggled the first couple chapters.
Yeah, I feel like we just like didn't get that big of a glimpse into like the sister relationship that's happening, because the whole premise of Ophelia going into these trials is to save her sister, but like we only saw them together for like a couple chapters at the beginning, and honestly didn't seem like they were that close. She like Ophelia, like, because it's like her POV, she talks about them being close, like Genevieve is the only person she has, but it didn't like there wasn't any like actions to kind of like portray what a deep bond they had. So I just like that kind of turned me up a little bit, because I was like, you don't really see their bond before she just runs away. So
yeah, I agree. I think like but with the way Genevieve or Ophelia's POV is like, she spent her whole life training to be the necromancer because she's the oldest, and like, Genevieve got to go live her life, and you see a lot of those comments. I feel like that's why we're not seeing as many comments about how their bond was.
Yeah, I think the first chapter is their mom laying dead on the floor. And so anything before that is just kind of what we learn from Ophelia's POV, her brain.
Yeah. Can I touch on the mom being dead on the floor really quick? Because there's something about it all that's really, really bothering me. I don't have a theory. I have a quote. It's bothering me. So in the description on the back of the book, it says, when Ophelia discovers her mother is brutally murdered, there's no time to grieve. Murdered. However, the coroner said she had a heart attack.
Yeah.
Shut up.
So
I didn't even read the back of the book.
I didn't read it.
Crazy. Murdered, huh?
Yeah, she's saying that her mom, but like in this scene where she's like taking over the magic, she has to complete this ritual, take over the magic with her mom's dead body laying right there. It doesn't like, she doesn't say anything about how her mom was murdered. None of that. Like, there's no stab wounds, no gunshot wounds, nothing. And the coroner said that she had a heart attack.
Mm-hmm. I'm so confused.
She says, Ophelia, I remember her saying that it was kind of strange. But then he offered, he's like, do you want me to do an autopsy? And she's like, no, we don't do,
No, but do you remember? Genevieve said, no, we don't want an autopsy. It was Genevieve who was adamant
what's she doing? What's Genevieve doing?
That's so weird.
Yeah. And then that whole financial thing too.
Yeah.
She's got some
Genevieve's got secrets.
I suppose we should touch on that. The whole point of Genevieve going into this Phantasma manor is to save Grim Manor, her home. Because once,
at least that's what Ophelia thinks.
Yes. Well, that's what, I mean, there's all sorts of checks and
I don't trust Genevieve as going in there to
Genevieve's
save the manor.
Doing some weird shit for sure.
Yeah.
I don't trust that she's going in there to save the manor.
You don't think? Do you remember what the letter said that Ophelia found?
No, I think it doesn't say, like, I know she was talking about finding this guy named Gabriel.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really say, like, she knew about the debt and she forged their mom's signature on checks to cover the debt with the bank. But she's also talked about how she wants to live her life and travel, and Ophelia doesn't have to be stuck to New Orleans where they live anymore because their mom is gone and everything like that. And so I don't think Genevieve went into the trials to save the house. You don't think
she's there at all? Oh, okay.
I think she's there. I just don't think she's there to save the house.
Yeah, okay. I think because she said something about like fixing this or something. I think she went in with the purpose of like wishing for something else, wishing for her and Ophelia not to be tied to Grim or whatever.
Sure. Yeah. But Ophelia's under the impression she's going in to save the manor. Huh. Okay. Interesting. Now I'm pretty caught up on this murder thing. Because they were so adamant
thinking about it. Since, like, so I read the coroner part. I was like, oh, she died of a heart attack, blah 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 blah. And then I like I can't find my bookmark, so I put my book down like this, and I looked over it and I saw murdered, and I was like, hold up,
wait a damn second here.
Yeah, and I backed it up, and I was like, authors don't do that shit.
No, Genevieve's doing some shady stuff. No,
I don't believe Kaylie Smith has a typo.
Yeah, there must be something hinky going on. Speaking of one of my hang-ups, since we talked about they're in New Orleans, so here I was at the beginning of this book going, oh my god, are we reading another urban fantasy? Which is my hang-up. I am not a fan of urban fantasy. But then I'm like, the thing about this, I was fine with it because then they go into the house and then it's, it's just fantasy, so it doesn't really matter. But then I started questioning like New Orleans, because they talk about they got money and they like hailed a carriage. She says carriage, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
But then like the people from the bank, they say get in their car. So I'm like, what time frame is this?
Where are we?
Where are we? What is happening? Or
there's
is it
a
just
couple
a
of Mardi
completely
Gras
different
references
world?
too. Which
Have
is
you
Yeah.
ever been to New Orleans?
Me neither.
But maybe they have, but maybe in the French Quarter, there's all kinds of carriages.
I don't
know.
I feel like I would see videos of that everywhere.
I don't know. None of us have never been to New Orleans. We've got to find somebody who has.
I suppose so.
Hey, listeners, if you have any New Orleans background, let us know. You're riding around in carriages? What are you doing over there?
I don't know. I recently read a book where it was also centered in New Orleans, and it was obviously in an urban fantasy, and it did not mention anything about carriages. So,
well, there we go.
That's all.
But but once we got into like the house, then I was like over it. I was like, I'll just pretend that stuff didn't happen. But she also, speaking of weird time frame, she also mentions she always wears dresses and a corset.
Corsets,
yeah. So it must have been.
But Blackwell wears trousers with belts.
No, but he wears like 3-piece suits and like tailored. I'm imagining like late 1800s attire.
I am also.
But anyway, what about, do you guys have any theories?
I have some.
I have like
two,
one
primarily.
Because I got so hung up on the murder thing.
Well, let me tell you what I found here. And it was either the first or second chapter. It was page 12 on my Kindle, but that doesn't really mean anything. But it was Ophelia speaking. She said still there was something, or it was right after I think they had just left the coroner or something like that. She said still there was something nagging at the back of my mind telling her this goodbye was not forever, in reference to her mom. So either she comes back, and then there's like they touch on a couple of like reincarnation stuff.
Yeah.
Or reanimation, rather. Not reincarnation, I suppose. So now I'm wondering if, maybe something crazy happens like that.
Yeah.
I do for sure think her mom is going to come back in some way, shape, or form. What if her mom is the cat?
Ooh.
That would be crazy. I could see it.
I mean, the cat's suspicious.
The cat is super suspicious. There's a cat named Poe, and it kind of just follows Ophelia around.
But I think it's been there forever. It's been there like since Blackwell has been there.
True.
That's what it seems like, yeah.
I wonder, I wonder if her mom, because we don't know what her biggest fear is. Part of the requirement into getting into this Phantasma house was she had to offer up her biggest fear, and they will use that biggest fear as a part of the game system. And so I wonder if maybe her mom's like reanimated into something real spooky in the house.
Yeah, whatever her greatest fear is.
Yeah. I'd like to know about her greatest fear.
Yeah, I definitely am.
But she
I'm waiting
also
for that to happen.
Because Blackwell tells her that, and she also mentions that her greatest fears are already coming true.
She did say something,
but then but when the Jasper is like ruffling through her little brain, she touches on, okay, well, losing Genevieve is my biggest fear. Losing the manor is my biggest fear. And then it's just kind of like a fade to black thing where and then he pulls the biggest fear of all. and we don't know what the biggest fear is.
True.
Yeah, she said she thought she had buried it long ago or something like that.
Yeah.
So I wonder if she's like still thinking along those lines. Her biggest fear is that she's losing her sister or whatever, but she's not actually still wrapping her head around the fact that they know her actual biggest fear is something else.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something there.
So yeah.
What do you have, Chandler, as far as theories go?
I don't have a theory. Really, I really got hung up on the murder thing.
Mm-hmm.
The mom being that's eaten away.
Yeah, that's gonna bother me now.
I know, that's why I think I might have to stay up and read. But I know my husband is not going to have sympathy for me if I do such things.
I wonder if it's kind of teeing up for the second book, though. Like, how far into that storyline are we going to get?
Yeah.
Because it feels like we're 3 games into the manor, and we still have half a book left.
Yeah.
True.
You feel?
Yeah. So my theory, I feel like I have a lot of theories around Blackwell because they talk about him like he's a phantom, and he thinks he's a phantom, or he says he's a phantom, but he has a lot of missing memory. He doesn't remember things outside of the games that happen in the house. He doesn't remember how he got to be there. He doesn't know why he can do more things than a regular phantom can. Like, he can eat food, which apparently is out of the norm, and he has like way more powers than he's supposed to have. So I think that he's either a demon or a devil, actually, and somehow lost his memory, or he's just pretending that he's a phantom, and then it's going to be this big thing where he's like actually a devil or something. Or he is actually Gabriel, because they only call him Blackwell. And then I question like his missing memories. Like, does he not remember anything or what?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's something, because Blackwell seems like a last name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he says, you can call me, or you can, what did he say? Like, you can call me Blackwell, implying that that's not his name.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. So I wonder if he's like tricking Ophelia a little bit, or if he like legitimately doesn't remember all of this stuff. But I feel like he can't just be a phantom. I feel like there's something else going on.
Yeah, and he doesn't know anything about his past.
Yeah.
So in what context does he think he's a phantom?
Yeah.
And then he said that he's the only one he's ever met. So
he's the only one she's ever met too.
So
Yeah. Yeah, and then Ophelia says that like she, other than like Jasper, is the first demon that she met. So she had never even met a demon, and I don't think she's met a devil. So she also doesn't know what to look for. She just assumed that he was a phantom.
They have, and he was like, devils have like devil marks too. Maybe his hair is his devil mark. His silver hair.
Could be.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I have something else.
Okay.
Tell me about what you guys think about the shadow voice.
I want to see her defy that shadow voice so bad. I want to see her go, fuck you. So bad.
Yeah.
Yes, obviously. I do wonder how like it's woven into the story. It's like what it actually is, but I did see something about how it's like OCD portrayal.
Yeah. There's a trigger warning at the beginning of the book that says containing contents or whatever. But it seems like, because she said when she entered the house, it amplified and like got more aggressive, and now it's like talking to her directly instead of, just like, oh, tap this 3 times, or like your family's gonna die. Now it's like
it talks to her directly.
Yeah. She did mention something like before that. She mentioned that the voice was kind of like not really that invested in what she was doing. Like he was very like nonchalant about like, you need to get to the house or everyone in your family dies or whatever. But like since going into the house, then he's like really aggressive and actually like not as nonchalant as he was. So that is interesting.
Yeah, I think there's something spooky about the shadow voice, and I don't know if it's like why would it be so invested in her life now that like is it trying to sabotage her games or what is it doing? What's the objective? I don't know. I do not know.
Because it does almost sabotage the third trial.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder, guys. Let's see. Do you guys have any icks? I can't think of any at the moment.
Yeah, we're all hung up on it now.
We can talk. Okay, I have another one. I wrote so much stuff down. So he says, obviously this is a romantic fantasy. Or would you call it a fantasy romance? It's more romantic fantasy, right?
I would say fantasy romance.
Would
fantasy
you?
romance,
but I feel like I push the other way more.
Yeah. Well,
anyway.
Yeah. He Blackwell meets her outside of the manor before the trials start, and they have like a kind of a strange encounter where he tells her that this is what has to be done to release me from the manor or whatever. And he says, a heart and a key will set me free, but you should hope we don't meet again. But I think, so the key, what they're doing actively is they're looking for the key right now throughout the manor. I think the heart is her heart.
I think it's a locket.
Yeah.
Oh, the locket. Okay.
I thought about that because her locket also can't open. So I'm like, maybe the key is the key that opens her locket.
Ooh, look at you guys.
And she said multiple times that the locket like beats at the same time as her heart, and like it leads her. She's got to follow her heart.
Yeah, she does say that a lot.
I like it.
So yeah, that's one of them.
Do you have any other theories, Kels?
No, I don't. That was pretty much it.
Morgan's leading the theories.
Yeah, I caught a little bit before I just started getting devoured by it. And then I'm like, just retain as much as possible.
Retain. Yeah, I can't really think of any icks so far.
I haven't had any icks either.
None? Okay, well that's good. Good for us. No icks.
No icks.
Anything you guys want to touch on with the characters? Any characters?
Do you guys like Ophelia? Like as a character?
I feel like I don't really know that much about her.
Yeah.
I go back and forth. Sometimes I really like her.
Speaking of icks, now I have an ick because I just thought of it when thinking of Ophelia. But she literally, I think it's going into the third trial or whatever. Blackwell is literally like, because how she gets him to help is she has to summon him when she gets into the trial. And she has to say his name 3 times. So they go into the third trial and he's like, summon me as soon as you walk through the door so that I can help you. And then she goes to the door. Guess what she doesn't do? She doesn't summon him. She does not summon him right away because she's dangling over a pit of lava. Like, I get it. It's scary, but she tries to do shit instead of just summoning him when he could literally tell you how to do it.
Yeah.
So that's my one ick. I was a little annoyed. I was like, girl, we just like, talked about this.
One job.
One job. You're messing it up.
Yeah, I feel that. I think overall, I think I enjoy her. She's kind of, like, I like how she snaps back at people. She doesn't just take a browbeating. Yeah. Like, she said something when Cade was doing something. Oh, fuck, she, like, called him vermin or something, and I giggled at it. Like, I just like how she's quick on the trigger, and she's kind of, I don't know. I kind of like her.
Her don't give a fuck attitude when it comes to the other contestants.
I'm with you though, Kels. I wish we knew more about her background.
Yeah.
But then the whole, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm hoping we get more about her background and Blackwell's. in the next section.
Yeah, for sure. I like Blackwell. I love his.
Same.
I do too. He's fun.
His ego.
I like him a lot.
His little sassiness. Love it.
I'm here for it. Ophelia is your grump, Kels.
She is a grump.
Blackwell's your sunshine.
It's hilarious since he's a ghost or whatever.
I like him a lot. I like how he had like a who did this to you moment too. And I love a who did this to you.
Yes.
So that
love it.
Bonus points for Blackwell.
Love it.
But yeah.
Do we have any questions for each other? I feel like I had a question, but I've lost it.
Questions?
Not I.
Okay, no questions. Do you guys have quotes? Morgan, you already talked about one. Do you have a favorite quote?
I'm going to be honest. I got so sucked in, I forgot to highlight a quote.
Let me see.
So I don't have a quote this time.
I don't really have like a quote like, oh, that's a pretty quote or anything like that, but I did highlight a few things, mostly like snarky things that Blackwell said.
Yeah, I did
so,
too.
So mine, there's one in chapter 6, and he just said, when they first meet each other, Blackwell you couldn't see him. It was outside of the grounds. He doesn't remember any of this because it was outside of the games, but Ophelia walked upon the house or whatever. She thought she was somewhere else, and they talked, and so she couldn't see him, and he said, "You're really missing out on my extraordinarily handsome face." And I just laughed. He's too funny to me. But he also had a good one. I think he was talking about Cade, but he said, "Incredible, the audacity of men worth less than dirt." And Ophelia was like, "Oh yeah."
I love that. I highlighted a couple of just snarky things too. Let me see. Which one do I want to share? Okay, so page 108 was that a vermin comment. Let me grab it. Cade had said to her, "Don't be so naive, little mouse." And she said, "Of the two of us, I think it's you who is closer to vermin." I thought that was fun. Like, I love it when people call each other vermin. That's fun stuff.
I do like the moment where she calls out the other contestant for buttoning up his vest wrong. She's she's basically like, that's big talk for somebody who can't button up his vest right.
I like her.
That was pretty good. Yeah, she's definitely, she's snarky, sassy. I quite like that part of it.
For sure.
Your hang-ups that we just don't know much about her.
Yeah. I feel like we were just like thrust into it, and then like 2 chapters later we went into this thing. You're kind of learning as you go, which is just like most books. I just feel like we don't see enough of her, really. She's literally the main character, but I feel like I don't really know her character as well.
She's the only one talking.
She's the only one. But we don't really like know her character really, because we were just like thrust in the middle of it. But
yeah,
I'm sure it'll get better by the end of the book because you'll just know more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any hopes for the second half of the book?
Well, they already slept together. So. Got nothing to hope for in that regard. Just a little shout out, guys. They already slept together. This is like kind of like an insta-lust, insta-love situation going on, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but she was kind of, she made a good point. She kind of like was like, well, this place is hell. You got to like hang on to having pleasure whenever you have. Yeah.
Maybe that's my ick. If I can go back to the ick statement. Because she's essentially been in this house for 4 days.
Yeah.
And she's, good for you, sis. Do what you gotta do in there. But
yeah.
it doesn't, when you think of it that way, it just doesn't feel as sincere as what it appears to be on the page. But
yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
I just want to know more about Blackwell. And I kind of enjoy the trials a lot too.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people compare it to Hunger Games, which that might be a little off the mark. But yeah, the trials of it all is fun. And I like the competitiveness between the contestants as well. I think that's a good addition to the story. Yeah. But yeah, I just want to know more about Blackwell. And I want to know because I feel like there's something weird about the riddle, the heart and key riddle. You might be onto something with the locket there. I didn't think about that.
Yeah. I want to see different POVs. I want to see, like...
Ooh, hot take.
I want to see a different POV. I love different POVs. Personally, I think you learn a lot through the other characters with different POVs. So I really do enjoy different POVs. But I'd really like to see a Blackwell POV. Maybe a Genevieve POV sprinkled in there.
Yeah. I do love multiple POV. But because this is the first in a series, I think. I don't know how long it's supposed to be.
I think it's a duology. I could be wrong.
Just a duology.
The next one's in April, I know. But this is the only one out.
Yeah. So I would love a multiple POV, but a lot of times they don't do multi POVs until after the first book. I guess to like cement who the main character is, I suppose. But I feel like that's generally the trend. Because I think it was Throne of Glass they didn't branch off until the second book or something.
It's not a duology. I just Googled it. It's not going to be a duology from what I can tell, just from a quick Google. It's part of what's going to be called the Wicked Games series. And the second book is going to be in the same world, but it's going to be called Enchantra. And it's going to be a different couple or different main character.
Ooh. Okay, good. So we get some finality with these.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad because I was worried that we're not going to... Yeah, I was worried about closure, especially with Blackwell's story, because there's so much we don't know.
Yeah.
Good. I'm excited. That's premium.
Good.
Unless anybody has anything else they want to add.
That's all I've got.
I'm
excited.
Alrighty.
Then after we close out here.
Then for our next episode, we are going to finish Phantasma. I'm saying that right?
Phantasma.
Starting at chapter 29 all the way to the very end. And if you have any book recommendations, some drink recommendations, our DMs are always open.
Absolutely.
So we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast.
If you liked our ramblings, please tune in next week and follow us on social media.
Book recs and drink recs are always welcome. Until next time.
Wolf.